To the Parent Mentor Panel Discussion event. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedules. I know everybody's trying to get dinner on the table and all that, so thank you for coming to this. And I really would like to thank our panel members and the students. We have Dave Meyer and Todd Nishikawa and James VanRosmalen. Dominic Salmieri is a student, Cayden, Ferencz, and Isabelle Sayed are seniors here at Big Picture. So they kind of have the most experience of the students that we have on campus with the most internship experience. So they're here to share their thoughts with you as well. So I'll just start out with a little bit of background on the Learning Through Interests program, which is the LTI program that we talk about, the internship program that we have here. It's supported by the Big Picture Learning Organization, nationwide, global. It's kind of a global thing, but so students attend their unpaid internships in person or virtually or a hybrid mode. That's all come around because of COVID. So those are some things that we didn't have before, but now we have in-person, virtual, and hybrid model where they go in person for a while and then are back here on campus for a virtual portion. So the students attend about 7 hours every Thursday, and they earn academic credit towards high school graduation. So it's an unpaid internship, and they get the academic credit is their is what they receive for their endeavors. So it's just a really powerful way for the students to learn by doing things, and it aligns with their interests, and so it's a great way for kids to dive in and learn what they like and what they don't like, so that as they go through life, they their high school life and into the beyond, they can see what they gravitate toward. So some of the benefits for companies that engage with our interns is they get to work directly with students from the Bellevue School District. So that's a kind of a community building thing for a company. It also allows the employees that might be kind of burning out, maybe to catch a spark again about why was I in this industry to start with. So by teaching an intern about what you're doing, it kind of brings a refreshing new look to what you're doing, and it's a major benefit for those students to learn from that. So if anybody is interested after this discussion that we have in learning more about the internship program and becoming a mentor, our LTI team, which you will meet the team shortly, we're here at Bellevue Big Picture to help onboard, make it seamless. We have all the legal stuff. Tony Granito is our document guru, so it's seamless for you and your company, and we'll facilitate that for you. So please don't let that be an impediment to participating. So a couple of things that I mentioned, COVID has widened our range for mentors. So now we have virtual mentors that can be anywhere. And we do have them everywhere. So that's been a fantastic addition to what we have for our in-person internships. And we just recently adopted Emblaze. It's a software platform to manage the internship, kind of the paperwork around the internship piece. So the kids either going out or just the way they check in and attend their internships. The mentors know about that. They engage with their student interns on attendance and then the goals that they set for themselves for the day and what they've achieved during the day. And it's a nice electronic database for collecting all of the internship opportunities. It doesn't come pre-populated though. It's just a database, and all of you out there that become mentors will be the opportunities that populate Emblaze, and the students will be searching for different opportunities in the springtime. They're going to be starting to search for opportunities for next fall. So The more opportunities we can have in the database, the more successful the students will be, and the more engaged you will become as a mentor. So I'm going to have the LTI team introduce themselves. We have Tony Granito, Barb Mercer, and Kevin Eney.
Did you want me to start?
Go ahead, Tony.
Hi, everybody. Like Hillary said, my name's Tony Granito, and I've been at the school since we opened in 2011. I was the instructional coach for the first, well, up until this year. I needed a change of my interests, so I have moved into the LTI coordinator job, and I guess I'm here to support and supplement Hillary's presentation.
Well,
Take it away, Barb.
oh, okay. There's some refurb. My name is Barb Mercer. I've also been here since the beginning. I actually have early beginnings in the private sector. I'm not a certified teacher. When we adopted our daughter, I wanted to stay home with her, so I got into education and I started at Newport High School. I was the career specialist at Newport for 7 years, got to know Bethany, started a small internship program there, and then when this school opened, made her take me. So I could transfer over to start this program. So I'm basically the community partnership coordinator, and I find placements. I work with mentors, new mentors, potential mentors, and current mentors for all sorts of things. But primarily, I'm on the look for new sites, new internships. I work heavily with the advisors. I'm in the advisory classes a lot, and I work with individual students to find the right fit for kids and to help them know what we have available, and if need be, to help them find and do cold calling and find the place myself. I also run a small team. Tony, Hillary, Mr. Eney, and our lead advisor, high school advisor, Clinton Stelbach, and Bethany when she's able. And it's for struggling students. And we meet weekly and we problem solve placement ideas for those kids and what we need to find for them, what we have, what we need to find for them to get a good fit. So I also work with the SPED program that we've enhanced over the years. And when need be, help with program direction, since I've been here from the beginning. I work on various new initiatives and things in the spring. So yeah, that's what I do.
Thank you, Barb. My name is Kevin Eney, and I have not been with Big Picture since the beginning. I missed the first year, but I've been with Big Picture ever since. But I've been with the Bellevue School District since 1992. This is like the year number 30. And over that period of time, I have developed, I would say I'm pretty passionate about job training and the importance of employment. And that came because of my sister, and none of you have probably met my sister. I may have told some stories, but she was chronically unemployed and or underemployed for decades and never really lived, and she died recently, but she never really lived a fulfilled life because she didn't have that job. And so I believe that every kid deserves this type of opportunity, and I will work to make sure they have the opportunity. So I kind of specialize in, I think the word would be like repair strategies, because the internship program hits on a lot of kids' weak points. Because over the course of the first 9 or 10 years of their educational experience, it's largely like classrooms and books and tests and quizzes and projects and presentations. And then all of a sudden with this internship program, they're looking out into the community, interfacing with the adults. And that can be intimidating to a lot of kids, but you have to overcome those hurdles. And that's what I love doing, is working with kids to overcome those hurdles because they have to. Anyway, I get to work with Barb and Tony and Hillary, and I have learned when I first started at Big Picture School, Thursdays were kind of a blur, but I've learned that Thursdays are the best day of the week because we get to do internship stuff all day. That's my favorite thing to do.
That's fun.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. And I've only been here since September, but I've been a parent here since Dominic was in 6th grade. So, and he's a senior now. So if you want to ask me anything about being a parent here at Big Picture and a recent hire, then ask away. All right, so I'm going to have the mentors introduce themselves, and then I'll have the students introduce themselves. So do you want to start, Dave?
Sure. I'm Dave Meyer, and I have 2 daughters at Big Picture. Kira is in 8th grade, and Miranda is in 6th grade. I work at Sucker Punch Productions as a programmer. We're a video game studio that's part of Sony. And my intern was Cayden Ferencz.
All right, Todd.
Yes, my name is Todd Nishikawa. I have 2 boys, Xavier, who's in 10th grade, Zion in 9th grade, and a daughter, Aloha, who's in 6th grade. So 3 right now in Big Picture. I work in Bod Pizza, not in the stores. We actually have we have corporate we have corporate here in Bellevue. So, and our one intern this year was Shubham.
All right, thank you. And James.
Hi, everybody. My name's James VanRosmalen. Most people just call me JVR because my last name's on the hard side to pronounce. And at Microsoft, there's always like 2 other Jameses in the meeting. So I have 2 daughters at Big Picture. Ruby is in 10th grade. Max is in 7th grade. I work at Microsoft on the Design for Xbox team. I've been at Microsoft starting my 13th year now, all that time in hardware test. And so got to ship a lot of products and really passionate about the work. I love video games. Who doesn't? Because I grew up on them. I currently have 13 interns this year. Sai, Emily, Sammy, Ted, Kelvin, Eduardo, Arushi, David, Preston, Sharon, Casper, Sean, and Sanvi. So we've kind of been growing as we can. And so, yeah, excited to be here and love the program.
All right, thank you. You could say he's a super mentor. And then I will have the students introduce themselves. Cayden, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure thing. I can turn my camera on here. It's not very good, but hi, I'm Cayden. I most recently worked with Dave Meyer here at Sucker Punch Productions, working on Ghost of Tsushima. And before that, I've worked with a studio called Foundry 10 that does independent projects, as well as Jeffrey M. Consulting, which runs the social media accounts for Microsoft, the Microsoft Store. All right.
Thank you. All right, Isabel, do you want to go next?
Sure. 1 second, my camera. Okay. I'm Isabel. I'm a senior at Big Picture. Currently, I'm interning with Mr. Eni, and I kind of work with him on helping students find internships and kind of get started so that they don't feel so lost and intimidated by the whole thing, because it can be quite intimidating to start like writing emails and making resumes and doing all this stuff with like adults that you have no idea like who they are, and work in like your dream job in some cases. In the past, I've been like a elementary school teacher's assistant for 2 semesters at Spirit Ridge Elementary, which was really fun. And then I also did a semester of the yearbook club at my school. And yeah.
All right, thank you. And Dominic, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So hi, I'm Dominic Salmieri. I'm another senior at Big Picture. I've been here for all 7 years so far, and I've done internships at a bunch of different places. I did an internship at Foundry 10, like Cayden. I've also done an internship at Quantum Storage Solutions, I believe is their name, B3 Wealth Strategies, KPFF Engineering, and more recently I've done some kind of almost entrepreneurial ones adjacent to a company called Cortland, and now I'm working with a family friend of ours at IDMA3 and making like a reactor form for them. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here. I'm going to start out with asking the mentors, what inspired you to jump in to be a mentor for Big Picture School? James, do you want to start that one off?
Yeah, that's fine. So the way it happened, my daughter Ruby was still in middle school, and I had been asked to come for like a, tell us about your work or something like that. And I did. Well, I had to ask her first if she was okay with me being there because I didn't want to embarrass her. And then I went. Some students sought me out and said, hey, do you know about the internship program? I knew a little, but my kids weren't in high school yet. And so they asked me if there would be interest of me doing that. So the next year, I dove in and did it. And then the second year I had 3 interns, and now I'm in my 3rd year and I have 13. It just seemed like a really great thing because we didn't have stuff like this when I was a kid. I grew up really poor. My parents were divorced, so my dad wasn't around, and having someone who maybe had the job you might want and you got to hang out with them and see what they do was, is unbelievable experience. So yeah, I just wanted to do that because who wouldn't want to do that as a kid? So.
Yeah, and I also think what's important there too is that your children were students in middle school, and you were helping the high school students realize their dreams. And I think that's super important for middle school parents to know that it's not just about your own students, it's about helping all of the students, because eventually your kids are going to get to high school, but it's also a great way for you to see what the whole program is about and how amazing it is for when your student does get to high school, what that looks like. So Todd, what inspired you to become a Big Picture mentor?
Well, the big thing about Mod is it's a pizza company with a heart, and so we're really about supporting the community and being a huge advocate of the community, and so that was important. And so when I heard about the internship program and everything, and obviously, I thought it was just natural for us to extend the offer to the. And so last year was our first year that we did it, and it was like my son Xavier was kind of the guinea pig for the program, and so I'm in supply chain, so I work with so the people that come in our program. He just essentially learned a lot of supply chain. So this year we branched out and he got to learn about marketing. He got to meet Shubham also got to meet with the culinary director, and so it was a way more diverse program this year, more than the last year where we kind of just threw it together and it worked, I think.
Well, that's great. I mean, I think that's just a good testament that you can just give it a go, see how it goes the first year, and then just iterate from there. I mean, just as we all do in our jobs. So
exactly.
So Dave, what was your inspiration for becoming a Big Picture mentor?
So this is the first year that I've done it, I've kind of always had kind of a low-grade interest in trying to share my experience with others, because I feel like you don't really know what a job is like until you're really in there and have actually experienced it. And so since I know, having kids at Big Picture, that that there's a big focus on this style of learning, it felt pretty natural to me to become involved so that I could share this way and kind of help give back to the community. You know, I mean, yeah, my kids aren't in the internship part yet, but I'm like, but when they are, I hope whoever you know they want to intern with will be also participating in the program, because it won't be me.
Yeah, we do try to keep the students from interning with their own parents, although Todd had Xavier, so that was fine. Only mainly because the dynamic is usually, well, you know how your kid is usually different around other people than when they're around you. So, I'm going to move to the interns to the student interns right now. And I'm going to ask you a question that I have on my other screen. So, Cayden, Dominic, and Isabel, when you think about mentors, what are some of the attributes that stand out for you for what a good mentor is? Like, it can be any experience that you had or the things that you like to see in a mentor or would like to see in a mentor. So, Isabel, do you want to start?
Sure. For me, I think a big part of good traits that both the intern and the mentor should have and continue to work on is communication. Because there have been a lot of times I've had friends who have had mentors who haven't really communicated very well with them, or they haven't communicated with their mentor when they wouldn't be going in because they were sick for a day. So I think that's really important. Also, honesty in giving constructive criticism. Don't be afraid to critique people and say I don't know, just give constructive criticism. And I think also a lot of students, including myself, have a bit of anxiety. So a lot of the time, it's hard to kind of advocate for yourself or, I guess, reach a certain goal because of the anxiety that might surround it. So I think respecting boundaries, that goes both ways, but also making sure that the intern is able to achieve the goals that they set and expand their comfort zone, because that's kind of one of the main points of the internship experience is kind of expanding your comfort zone and experience.
Thank you. That's excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Cayden, do you want to add to that too? Some attributes that you like to see in a mentor?
Yeah, sure. I would say a big thing for me is just having a mentor that's really friendly and outgoing, because it's really nerve-wracking as a student going out into the professional world, often into a field that you want to make into a career, and just jumping in and working with people there. So to have your mentor be somebody who's just really friendly and casual, it makes it a lot more comfortable to start off, I'd say. Yeah, that's the main thing for me. Other than that, I'd just say, just be ready to have, a good project for the intern, and be ready to teach them something, because it's always great to have an internship that you learn a lot from. That's really important to me, at least.
Yeah, that's a great point, Cayden. And I think one of the things that the LTI team can help potential mentors do is brainstorm for different projects that they might have. I think a lot of mentors or would-be mentors are just they just don't know what kind of a project that they might have for a student. So the LTI team can work with anybody to craft something. I mean, everybody has something to offer with their experience, and it's just a matter of kind of brainstorming and what could you teach somebody who knows nothing about this field. You can pretty much come up with a project for any student. So don't be nervous or scared because you don't have a project in mind, because the LTI team can definitely help there with the advisors and the students. So Dominic, do you have some attributes that you would like to talk about that you'd like to see in a mentor?
Real quick, I just wanted
Oh.
to say that's a good point. Like actually, me and Dave, we spent a good bit of time working out what the project was going to be, like going back and forth a bit. So yeah, I'd say don't be too worried about having a project ready to go.
Great, thanks, Cayden. So Dominic, do you want to talk about the attributes of a mentor?
Yeah, sure. I would say one thing that's really important to me is just having a willingness to help. You got to remember that we're all high school students. I mean, some of the people getting these internships are 14, can't even drive themselves to these internships. They're taking the public bus or their parents are driving them. And I mean, we're high school students. We don't know that much. And we're going into the workforce. So we're going to have a lot of questions. And that's part of the reason we're doing these internships, is to learn a lot about what having a job is like and learn about fields that we're interested in. But we don't have a lot of formal education. So just a willingness to answer questions and help out can really go a long way, and helps, just like Cayden said, it's great to have an internship that you learn a lot from, and that can allow you to learn a lot from your internship. Also, I definitely want to second what Isabel said about communication, especially online communication is really important within Blaze. There's a lot of digital paperwork that has to be signed, or not a lot, but there is digital paperwork that has to be signed that has been a little bit of a struggle to get used to, I guess, this year, for at least on the student side of things. But it's much more streamlined than the paper stuff that we had a couple years ago. But anyway, having some level of communication, whether it be in person at your internship, if you're doing an in-person internship, virtually if you're doing a virtual internship, or over in Blaze, is also really important, I feel.
All right. Yeah, and at least within Blaze now, it's all electronic. It used to be the students would take home green sheets and blue sheets, and then sometimes they didn't have green paper, so it was a green sheet on white paper, and it was super confusing, and they'd lose it on the bus, or so now we've got an electronic version. And imagine we're a 21st century school that's actually using 21st century tools, so that's nice. All right, so I'm going to head back to the mentors. I'm going to ask you a question. I think what I'll do is I can either do this in a three-part one where you let us know a benefit of being a mentor, a challenge that you had, and a surprising thing that you found out as a mentor, or we can split those up. But I guess I'll just do it that way, where if you can let us know what was a benefit that you found as a mentor, what was something that was challenging as a mentor, and then what surprised you most as a mentor. So I will start with Todd on this one, please.
Okay. Okay, so the one thing that I learned was that yeah, the student in both instances of that we've had the internship, they come with a level of excitement and curiosity, and that helped, the team that they would meet with on the one-on-ones, and a lot of people came back with that, inspired from that, and it there was a lot of gratitude for setting up the internship, because of the actual squad members at Mod got that enthusiasm and feeling from the students, from the interns. So that was one thing that I would say was surprising. A challenge, I would just say that the last holiday period, we kept on the Thursdays were, Thanksgiving, there were various holidays. So we kept on missing each other. We missed each other almost, for it felt like 3 weeks or so that we kept on missing each other. So that was one challenge I think that we had to work through. But I'll just say that, yeah, with Shubham, there've been a couple talks about him in the chats that he had a culinary, he has a dream about opening up a family restaurant. And so that's where I decided to kind of tailor his internship for him to focus on what kind of food he likes. As far as we had a limited time offering that we built in, and he built a pizza and everything, and it was just something that he had a lot of passion, and you could see that he grew a lot from that and that was just great to see, as far as in the growth of Shubham in the internship this year.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I didn't see his exhibition, but I heard about his exhibition and that was able to design his own pizza, and I thought that was amazing. So did they actually offer that pizza at the shop, or?
I'm sure that the culinary team took some notes.
Nice. That's fantastic. All right, James, do you want to talk about the things that, the benefit that you had, the challenge that you had, and then what surprised you most as a mentor?
Sure. So I'd say like the benefit to me is like a twofold answer. The first was I really can see the big picture. Well, I feel that gets like the short end of the straw when it comes to Bellevue School District. And so working at Microsoft, it means every hour I volunteer, big picture gets $25. And so like when my 13 interns had exhibitions for an entire Thursday, that's 8 hours. So it's just a check for $200 that gets sent to big picture. So I really like that aspect. But the thing for me also that I think is a benefit is having an intern really challenges the mentor to be their best self at work. And there are a lot of times where I think maybe when I was new to being a mentor, I might have had unreasonable expectations and just thinking like, oh, like what would I expect from a junior level employee? And it's like, that is not fair, right? Because these are high school students, like Dom was saying earlier. And so it was a really great exercise for me to like become more patient and recognize that mistakes are about learning, right? And I heard Isabel say about having understanding critical feedback is okay. Like that's been a great thing I've seen happen with my interns, that if it's done in a safe way and in a productive way, they want that feedback, right? They want to know how to improve. And as employees, so do we, right? I feel like if you are self-aware, you want to know how to be your best version, and kids will tell you that. My interns have no problem telling me that, what I can do better. And so that's a great thing to hear on a daily basis. So I'd say what challenges? COVID has been challenging. Like obviously the first year I got to have interns in person. And then last year we were hoping we would get to meet face to face. And then I finally did. After they had been interns of mine for over a year, we got to meet in person, and it was really exciting. They got to come to the Microsoft campus and kind of see what they had missed out on, right? And I hope with my interns I have this year, I can do that as well. But then also I work in hardware. So with COVID, it's hard to talk about hardware virtually with a student. And so we've had some challenges with the school. We're trying to get a makerspace set up so that the kids can have access to electronics and 3D printers and PCs and gaming equipment, because for them to get a true sense of the hardware, they got to hold it, right? And so that's something I'm working with the LTI team on. And my hope is 3 years from now, you guys have like a full everything that we can build you out with whatever you need. And then the aspect that surprised me the most, when I was in high school, I remember how embarrassed I was by my parents. We had a really rough family, and I didn't want my parents ever coming to school for any reason. I didn't want them at my sporting events ever. And so I was so cautious and trying to be subtle and gentle as a mentor, because I didn't want my daughter to hear that, hey, your dad is performing poorly. But then also at the same time, I didn't want to be this dork to the students. I wanted to be authentic. I wanted to show them what it was like having a job. But I didn't want them to feel like, I was trying to put up a front, or that I was trying to enforce some ridiculous rules. Like, I just became really shocked about how open the kids were to accepting me, right? I guess I kind of thought, like, oh, they're going to see through. They're going to think I'm a phony. And the kids have been really compassionate and understanding and great listeners. And I don't know, it really, I think as a mentor, like, it sharpens you up getting to be around the positivity of the kids. And having 13, I feel like I got my hands full sometimes, but they're just respectful and compassionate towards each other and good listeners. And yeah, for anyone who says, like, there's bad kids out there, I say that's crap. These kids are amazing. And if you spend time with them, you'd see that as well. So.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that we are really fortunate, because I think our students here, they're not trying to be cool or whatever. And I think they really do enjoy having their parents around. I don't know, Dom, do you, you can let me know, but yeah, so I really do think we've got it good here, because I think our kids really do, they're authentic, and that's what we have here. We just have an amazing group of great citizens at this school. So, all right. So Dave, what about what did you find as a benefit to being a mentor and a challenge? And then what surprised you most being a mentor?
Yeah. So on the benefits front, like, for me, there's definitely a sense of personal satisfaction about the idea that I'm kind of helping enable future generations to kind of take bold steps, right? Like, you get introduced to it. That's going to be helpful for knowing, is this the right fit for me? What is it going to look like? And then I think it's also really valuable to, kind of on the other end, to be getting the energy and perspective from my intern, who's someone who isn't from inside my organization. It helps make sure that we're not stuck in an echo chamber, that we're not kind of experiencing this hall of mirrors, right? It's a fresh perspective. And so, I feel like that's a significant benefit to me, and then to the studio as a whole, for, kind of just getting that extra sense out there. As far as challenges, so my big take is that I'm actually amazed that we managed to pull this off. Mostly because, video game development is a fairly secretive process. And so kind of the big challenge for me was even trying to figure out and coordinate with my studio to say, can we make this happen? Like, I know I'm interested, can we do it? And Hillary was super helpful on this front. She gave me some good materials to kind of bring to the studio to kind of explain the project and to kind of sell it a bit. And then likewise, she helped along with other folks at the studio for kind of brainstorming, like, what kinds of things could we try to do? I think for me, the biggest challenge was just really trying to get started. And once we kind of got over that hump, yeah, everything just kind of flowed from there. And it was good. What was surprising to me? I was a little bit worried that we would somehow manage to kind of fizzle on the launch pad when we got started, because, first-time mentor, I wasn't sure that we'd kind of gauged the project right for something that we could actually meaningfully do. And, I was very pleasantly surprised at how well the project went. Like, Cayden and I discussed things to get started, and then we just kind of went, right? And it was like things got, Cayden got up to speed rapidly, and was making contributions. So, it was like, when you recognize, you kind of think of it as, oh, it was 3 weeks in or 4 weeks in, and then we met with some of the other designers at the studio, and I'm like, well, but that was effectively 4 work days in, and we already had a nice discussion with the design team, right? And so again, I was very pleasantly surprised with how that went, and how energizing it was to be working with Cayden. So I feel like there's kind of this interesting combination of the kind of educational and mentoring aspects, kind of the part that flows out from the mentor. And then there's also the reverse. There's the outside perspective and energy that came back from Cayden, kind of the inflow. And that all worked together to produce something that was very exciting for me. So.
That's great. Yeah, and I think you kind of hit that that spot where, like, gaming companies and tech companies in general, a lot of them will have an NDA that has to be signed, and the students can do that. That's a very important thing for them to learn in those industries. So, but as Dave mentioned, we talked about maybe what could be a project, and you can think about legacy games or things that aren't necessarily the cutting edge secret stuff, but that have already been worked on. But to a student, they're brand new, and they're also going through that same learning process that they would have gone through had they been on the cutting edge game. So those are the kinds of things to think of as a potential mentor. There's not necessarily a barrier when you think there's a barrier to bring an intern into your company. So, all right, so back to the interns. We're going to go with what advice do you have for someone who is thinking about becoming a mentor? Isabel?
I think being open-minded, because I remember the first mentor I ever had, I was talking to her, and she was like, since she was my teacher, she was my 3rd grade teacher, and then I came back to intern with her, and she told me it's a bit like, not really scary, but just new, because there's like a teenager that's coming into the work environment that already has like a system, and it might feel like that might get a bit like jumbled up. And she said, I'm glad it was you who reached out, because if it was another student that I didn't know, I probably wouldn't have said yes, but it ended up being a great experience. And I think she's had like other interns as well. And I think it's important to remember that I think even if you're 14, 15, 16, 17, you still can contribute valuable things to a work environment. And also, I think interns should be open-minded as well, and kind of accept the fact that if you, like, right when you're entering the internship program, you're probably not going to get a super like crazy internship right away, like at a big company. A lot of the students start off by working at schools with their previous teachers, because it's a similar environment and there's a lot of skills you can gain, even if it's not like their career path that they want to pursue. It's just important to gain experience. So I think, yeah, just open-mindedness, and yeah.
I love that. I love that, Isabel, how you talk about, we have a lot of students as a freshman that come in and I want to work at Microsoft, or I want to be a game developer, and it's just as important to learn to work at just any internship that will teach you communication skills, how to just look somebody in the eye, how to know what it's like to be in an office environment. And so that's super valuable to impart that to a potential mentor. So Dominic, do you have any words for a potential mentor?
I think I just have to agree with Isabel. I mean, really, I think it's a very weird thing to be approached by a high school student and asked if they want to mentor them. Like, that's a really weird thing on both ends. But I think a lot of times both students and mentors don't really realize all of the opportunities that an internship kind of encompasses. It could be a lot of different things. It could be, I mean, I don't even know. It could be anything, really. And a lot of times, I think both mentors and students kind of pigeonhole themselves into, like, I want to do this thing, or this is what I do at my job. The student has to do this, or they have to fill a role that would normally be at my company. And that's not true. For example, my internship at B3 Wealth Strategies, obviously they're a financial planning company, and I was, I think at the time in 9th grade, I think it was my second internship in 9th grade. And I couldn't look at any financial documents, obviously, or anybody's financial info. But what I did is I made a presentation on financial education and financial planning that was aimed at high school students, and I presented it to a class at my school. And that's something where it benefited both the company that I was at, it benefited me and my community, and it was a great way for me to learn about all of that stuff as well. So I learned a lot, not just about financial planning, but about communication with people in a professional way. I learned about making a presentation, presenting, all of that stuff around confidence and things like that. And it benefited my company, and it was completely unrelated to anything that they were doing before. So I think just being open-minded to lots of different possibilities. It doesn't have to be a traditional role at a company, and it doesn't have to be exactly what you're hoping for in an internship, I guess. There's plenty of different options that can teach you a lot, or where you can teach a student a lot.
Yeah, I think that's the key is, we can craft a project for any mentor that's out there. We can get a project with a mentor and an intern, and we can make that happen. So Cayden, what do you think? What are your words of advice for a potential mentor?
I'd just say don't get too worried about the paperwork and stuff. It's never as much of a challenge as people think it is. And I mean, I'm really grateful that more parents are participating in it, because I remember freshman year, it was pretty much all cold calling, which it was definitely a lot of work to find something. Especially in entertainment, like with game design. But that actually ties into the next thing, where like my first internship I got was at Jeffrey M. Consulting, and I didn't think it was going to be very related, but it ended up having a lot of things I was looking for, like interacting with customers and stuff over social media. Like no matter what the internship is, there's a lot to potentially be gained from it, I'd say. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, just like when I was starting out with Dave, like it didn't seem likely that Sony was gonna accept and everything, but it ended up working out. So it's always worth a shot. I mean, thank you to Dave, and thank you to Sony. No offense to James, but yeah. That's pretty much everything.
There's the gauntlet right there. So yeah, and I think that's yeah. it's just great to see more parents. I remember when Dominic was a freshman, and they're 14 years old and they're cold calling people, and it's like they're looking for a job and they don't even have the want ads. I mean, they're just, so having a database that they can search through that is probably filled with parents, mostly that get it. They're 14-year-old kids. So it allows it to be just that little bit more of a warm lead instead of just, oh my gosh, is this legit? Is this kid calling me out of the blue? So what is this? So they still have to do a lot of work. The students still have to reach out. They have to make the calls. They have to make send the emails, and they have to communicate. It's just that at least there's somebody at the other end who has some compassion for children because they have them. So, and at the school. So, although you can invite your family and friends to also become mentors, that would be fantastic. So, I'm going to ask the mentors one last question, and that is, how would you recommend this to other parents? Did you have a question, Martin?
I just wanted to share because I've been watching like silently, and my video was off because no one needs to see me. But I want to say that the kids, Isabel, Cayden, Dom, you guys are rock stars. Dom, you know I love you. You were awesome last year. But Cayden, like, you've been rocking it. And Isabel, like, you are literally a rock star tonight. It's the most amazing thing ever. And the mentors, on top of that, the ability that you guys have to take on, you have your own jobs, right? Like, you have to do your own stuff. And then you take on these kids, but you do it from the kindness of your heart, and you know what it means to them. I just need you all to understand how amazing that is, collectively, as the kids and as the adults. Like, it's truly amazing. This is why we put our kids in big picture school. So yes, thank you. And I will turn my camera off.
Mr. PTSA president. So
yeah, it is what it is.
So I'll have
that's just coming from just being an outsider, so not PTSA co-president at all.
Well, thank you. So I think we'll kind of wrap up a little bit before some questions, but we'll have the mentors. How would you recommend the experience to other parents? How would you cajole them into becoming mentors? We'll go with Dave first. Oh, go ahead, Todd.
Okay, yeah, I'll just go first. I would just say it's for us, all of us at Mod, I would say we thought it was going to be a huge endeavor, that it was going to be a lot of responsibility on us. More than anything, I think what we learned was that we learned a lot from the interns themselves about how to work with the younger generation, and how to obviously, like people have said, be patient with them and be understanding, but also if they need a reminder or anything like that, we've learned that also. It's just been a great learning experience for all of us, and I think it is, again, getting back to being part of the community, and I think that's you can't be any bigger part of the community by helping kids and helping them better themselves.
All right, Dave, what's your pitch to parents that might think about doing this?
Yeah, I don't know if I have much of a pitch. I mean, I would say I certainly recommend the experience, though, because it was fabulous. I know on my end, I plan to be involved again in the future. I think, in some senses, my pitch is a little bit like, just think about what you would hope that somebody would be willing to do for your kid, right? Because it's a wonderful experience on both sides of the table. And so, you know, if you have even a little niggle of an interest in doing it, I definitely recommend that you should have a discussion, give it a try, because it has a lot of big upsides.
Thank you. And people can contact me at macdonaldh@bsd405.org if you have questions and you want to learn more about it. All right, James, what is your pitch to parents?
So my initial thought, the socialist in me was like, I feel like it should be like Norway, like mandatory military service, that if you are a parent, you should be required to be a mentor at the school. Now, I'm not going to go with that harsh, but to me, I feel like you really do think about everybody you know in society who complains but then doesn't vote, right? Like the way this school works is we get out of this school, I really think, what we put into this school. And so I look at my job as working at Microsoft as like we're a dime a dozen. Every third person in this Bellevue, Redmond area works at Microsoft. I would love it if the kids could have internships at like a veterinarian or a scientist or somebody who teaches skydiving, right? Like whatever it is, I'd like to see diversity. And it's great to have people come be my interns that have never played video games before. And that's awesome. But I would like to see the arts represented, right? Like I would like to see opportunities for kids to have different choices, right? Like, oh, I did Google last year and I did Microsoft this year. Like there's nothing wrong with working in tech. It pays our bills and that's great. But there are a lot of parents out there who I feel like potentially have much more to offer than I do as a mentor. And whatever the rest of us other mentors can do to help support you, whether you feel like it's training or whatever, please reach out, because I've told Hillary this before. I have at least 6 more years at Big Picture. I think I will be a mentor until you guys throw me out. And so, yeah, I would recommend it to everyone.
Thank you. And what I think I'd like to do, I think our LTI team is going to hold sort of a boot camp where we can bring everybody together. We're just going to kind of gather all of the interests of all the students and are you interested in veterinary or all those things? And then everybody can come to the table and we can all brainstorm some ideas. And because, yeah, tech is great, but we need other representation as well. So thank you all so much for participating. I think I'm going to open it up to questions. Tony, are there questions from the audience at all? Or does anybody in the audience have questions that they'd like to ask any of the participants?
I don't see any questions in the chat, just a lot of accolades and praise and positive vibrations and comments in the chat that for everybody involved here tonight and everybody who's presenting in our program, but no questions at the moment.
I actually do have a quick question. If you're interested in maybe being a mentor for the fall, do you kind of get all that stuff set before you start in the fall? So you like get that in the summer, or do you do it like May, June period before school's out? I'm just curious how long that process takes.
We would love for you to get started now.
Okay.
Because the students are going to be starting to search in the spring. So in April, May, June timeframe. So if they're able to, if our mentors are populated in Emblaze, our opportunities for those students, then you as a potential mentor could be in there and then they could be searching for you and line all that up. And they might even have an internship all ready to go in the fall, which would make their summer so wonderful. Mm-hmm. Isn't that right, students? To know you have an internship through summer. So yes, please reach out. And
that'd be great. And then I guess my second question would be, do you as a mentor get to interview, or how does that work? Like, how do you pick your mentor? I mean, students or student.
Tony or Barb, do you want to handle that one?
Yeah, it's really, when I work with a mentor, it's really up to the mentor, whatever they prefer. some mentors want to interview, so we'll talk about, well, how many students do you really want me to to talk to? As many as you got, or I'll talk to 3. Others don't want to say no to kids, so they'll say, could you please pick one for me? So we kind of, as the team, look at who's interested and we pass one forward. So it's really whatever the mentor is comfortable with is how we go with that.
Got it. Thank you.
And because we know the students and we have relationships with the students and we know their strengths and we know what they need to learn, we also try to match students' skills and the skills that they need to learn with mentors that we think will match well with those skills. So we take into consideration a few things. So both from the mentor perspective and from our perspective, we will, we'll match up. We'll try to make the best match with the student and the mentor that we can.
Sometimes the mentor wants a certain, I also open it up to how old would you like your intern? Do you want 9 through 12 or do you want older kids? And sometimes they prefer junior, seniors, maybe for engineering for the math component, or based on what the project might be, just a little bit more maturity, or they need to be able to drive to get to sites. So that's also an option. We're very flexible. Whatever the mentor wants, we usually try and accommodate.
There's a lot of stuff in the chat. I'm not going to hijack it, but I want to give
Cayden. Yes, Cayden had his hand up. Go ahead, Cayden.
Hey, I just wanted to add on to that and say that, yeah, from my experience at least, it's completely up to the mentors who they bring in for interns. I mean, if they want to leave it more to the school, it's up to them. I've done a lot of interviews for internships. I know with Dave, I did an interview or two with them and an interview with some other people from the team and stuff. And that's how we went about it and made sure it was a right fit. So yeah, just up to the mentor, whatever they want.
And so that's like a marriage between you and the mentor. So that worked really well. And you're also very articulate, and the mentor was super receptive for that. So that was awesome.
All right. So any more questions?
So this is, my name is Jessica. My son Nolan is a 7th grader. And I think James or JVR, I am on your path where I signed up to be in the thing on Thursday, and then I randomly got emailed by a student. And so I think I've already been involved. So I work at FreTouch. So Hillary, I think it sounded like reaching out to you would be the best way to kind of chat about projects. And the other thing, and I don't know if we can go over time, but I'm just wondering from the mentors, like what the balance of time commitment, sort of hands-on with the students, and how much learning on their own, can we expect? And I understand that I completely respect the communication pieces. I think that Isabel highlighted and others, because I think that's a really good point as well. But I think for me, it's more about the okay, making sure that I allot the time to do a good job for the student. And I want to make sure to understand what that expectation might look like.
I will throw out just some kind of comments on that front from my experience. I mean, typically Cayden and I would have a half-hour to hour conversation both at the beginning of his day and at the end of his day, every Thursday. And then aside from that, we had some occasional cases where we also met to discuss things, but we kind of did that on an as-needed basis. So, I think if you kind of averaged it all out, from my perspective, I probably ended up spending 2 to 3 hours a given day working with Cayden, but it was fairly variable. I do know maybe I got my math wrong, because I do know that the studio said that they were willing to contribute up to 40 hours of my time for the course of the project. That was one of the things that they put on the table, and we didn't go through that budget, right? We went through like 2/3 of it, but I also accounted for, you know, when Cayden and I were in a meeting with a couple of the other design team members, I counted, you know, triple on that because there were 3 employees that were busy. So, you know, I would guess, having only done it once, I would guess that it probably varies a bit depending on exactly what your project is and what your workflow is. But, you know, in my case, you know, we went through a whole semester on under 40 hours of my at-work time on that. I did have some extra where I was working in the evenings to make sure I was ready for for what was happening, but I was like, that's my time and I'm donating my time, and that's fine.
So I would just add that one thing that's come out of the COVID experience is that we've got several options now, and I think it's safe to say that we go forward with that. So we have in-person, where the intern's with you for 7 hours, the entire school day. We have virtual, where the mentor and intern check in the morning, and then the intern's doing self-directed work here at school, and then maybe in the afternoon. And then we also have a hybrid sort of situation where in a couple cases, the kids are out at the work site for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then they come back here and do self-directed work, and then maybe check in at the end of the day. So in my thinking, as an adult worker, that opens up a lot more possibility for mentors who can't dedicate an entire day to having a cool kid at work. So again, it's my intention going forward, though, we're going to be super flexible and try and make all that work, because the opportunities just explode. So that's what we want.
I appreciate the hybrid options too, because I don't know about other books, but you know, we have sort of restrictions of, you know, who could be on campus, because Fred Hodge is connected to the Cancer Care Center, so they are limiting, you know, how many people can be in a room together, and you know, technically we weren't allowed to bring children into campus, but I'm making sure that's okay and getting all the paperwork, you know, looked into for that, so that's good. You know, I just want to, so I'm thinking also like something hybrid might be more virtual in the beginning, and then sort of with more in-person opportunities to kind of apply some of the work in person, sort of maybe later in the spring, Omicron willing.
Right.
That we could do that.
Yeah. Right. The schedule doesn't have to be set in stone day one, and this is the schedule for every Thursday. You can certainly move around with that. Again, we're flexible. We'll make it work.
Yeah, and we did. We had a couple of situations where the interns were out in person for the full Thursdays, but then when Omicron hit, they were for whatever reason, they ended up coming back to do virtual stuff here on campus. So you just roll with it. So, and we're super flexible. All right. Any more questions? It's after 8, and I don't want to. I want to respect everybody's time, but I wanted to thank you all so much for participating, all of the mentors and the students and the LTI team. And we'll have more of these events.
Can I jump in for a second, Hillary?
Sure, sure.
Well, I just want to thank everyone first. This has just been fabulous to sit and listen. It's just so, our parents are amazing. Our students are, you know, it's just so cool to think 11 years in, like there's just awesome stuff happening here. And I think it's a gift, if there can be anything positive from COVID, to have these increased opportunities and flexibility. So we absolutely will go forward to that. But I really have an ask for anyone on this call, with the people that you know that are mentors. So students, if it's other mentors that you have had or current mentors, and the 3 who are mentors, I've been working on my agenda for tomorrow's first school design advisory committee, as we're starting to think about rebuilding. And James, I heard what you said about makerspace and access in 3 years. Like, that's great timing because that's when we'll have the new facility.
And I'm going to interrupt you for a hot second because it's also our first general meeting for the PTSA tomorrow night.
Awesome. So mine is before yours though, Martin, so we won't conflict and I'll be at both. But anyway, I have, we're looking for on our team to round out the stakeholders representing students and staff and parents for a mentor. And it could be a parent mentor or it could be a person who's not a parent mentor, but we have a spot. We really want the voice of a business partner, mentor on our team to help us think through school design, school programming that can support students exploring the real world and internships, virtual internships and off-campus internships and what that looks like for a new school. So if you're interested or you know of mentors, students that for you or staff that are on the call, I'd love some names of anybody who might want to join our team. We're going to meet 7 Wednesdays. Hillary's on the team. Tony's on the team. We've got a cool lineup. There's fabulous students that have been chosen, but it's an hour and a half Wednesdays from 2 to 3:30 for 7 Wednesdays between now and May. And there's cool stuff that's going to happen. So that's my plug, but really a thank you for all of you and the work you do to support our students and our program. I really do appreciate it. And I'm off. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Bethany. All right, thank you so much, everybody. And we will have more of these type of events and mentor boot camps, project melee, just fun things that parents and families can get involved with, and family and friends, invite people that you know. And we'll just hold more of these events so that we can streamline this and then just build community so that everybody feels like they're part of the community and part of the big picture thing. Because like all the mentors said, we all have kids here, and that's what makes big picture is the community and the students and the faculty and the staff, and so all the families. So thank you so much, and enjoy your evening.